All right, let's get into the show proper.
Let's talk games.
Yeah, we're talking games. We're gonna do a little GOTY check-in. So I want to get into like what have we played kind of this year? What are our top contenders for game of the year? Top 10 kind of level games. You know, what kind of titles might come up in our gang of the year at the end of the year? That kind of thing. So, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to kick it off? Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I think you've at least touched on more games than I have for sure.
I guess we've beaten about the same amount though, so you know, have that hanging over me. For the longest time, my game of the year was Keep Driving, so I guess I want to start by giving that a nod. But it's been like in the last probably like 2 months, it's just been like banger. Like it's just been crazy. So Keep Driving is a how do I explain this game? It is I want to get the genre
It's a
seed
strategy.
right. Management RPG. Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. There's like a level of randomization to it, but I was like, is it like a rogue? Not really.
No, not really.
Right? Because it's like it's more of like a random. It's closer to Oregon Trail is honestly the best comparison. I feel like for the structure of the game. You are a young person. I forget if it's like how old you are. I mean, you're old enough to drink, so you're 21. I kind of get like the vibe of like post-college vibes. And you are gonna take a road trip to go meet your friend at this music festival. And you guys are gonna like hang out, tickets, you're young and la la la. At the start, you get to pick your vehicle. You also pick some kind of like attributes about yourself. Like what's your relationship like with your parents, which does have a mechanical layer to it, which is interesting. And then also like kind of what you're starting out with. I forget the options offhand, but it's like, do you want to take your guitar and like a 30 rack of beer, which like the whole structure, again, management kind of RPG is the car itself is you can like view it from like a top down view with like a grid showing the inventory space of the car. So it's like, what if Oregon Trail had Resident Evil type management of your items where you're sort of trying to make sure that they fit and you're kind of Tetrising them to say, okay, well, let me rotate the cup of coffee and then I can fit the, bad example because that one's only, I think, one square, but you get the idea. Oh, I'm going to move the case of beer to the back to get myself more space. Or, I'm going to get rid of it just because then I get like, X amount of squares opened up. And as you're driving, you have the option to like pick up hitchhikers. They have their own like personalities and vibes, but they also have their own abilities because the sort of part where it deviates from Oregon Trail is it does have a very casual card-based combat system. You run into things called road events. A road event can be just like anything that happens on the road. It might be road event, traffic jam. And then the traffic jam presents itself as a series of cards that you have to defeat. And you do that or like a series of things you have to defeat. They're like represented by icons. So there might be, a green person icon, a blue energy icon or whatever. And you have items and cards that you want to match the icons. Basically, that's how you remove them. That's how you defeat it. So it's like, maybe you're facing an event that has like 3 little blue icons. Oh, that's great. I have a candy bar that's worth 3 little blue icons. It matches perfectly. Boom, that event's taken care of. You might have an ability like, I don't know, easygoing or something. And it's like, okay, that ability is like a green icon and like a blank icon and a gas icon or whatever. And you can also, if you fail events, like you can end up taking hits on those aspects of your character. So if it's like you take a hit on gas, you lose a bit of gas. Like you take a hit on energy, you lose a bit of energy. And there's all these like additional systems under the hood, no pun intended, for kind of, I guess, like limiting your ability to just go on like an infinite run. It's like, oh, after a while you get tired, and oh no, if you get tired, like it takes double to do this, or you take extra damage or something, so then you might want to sleep. So there's all these different integrations for it. I do want to emphasize this game is very simple to play. It's not complicated by any means. I'm not a card game person. In terms of card games, it's a lot closer to like Signs of the Sojourner, if you're familiar with that game, where it's a very simple, you are matching cards. I'm sure someone who's like maybe super, super smart at card games can like do a bit better than me, but I don't think you can like, it's not the kind of game where it's, you know, about, oh, I'm just an expert card player and like I have the best road trip. Like you are still limited by your resources. So like you're always going to have to like have this push pull. But basically what makes this game great is there is intrigue in like managing your inventory. That's like the whole crux of the game. But what really like makes it sing to me are the vibes and the story that ends up unfolding when you're like getting these hitchhikers and like learning more about them in like a very like quick, casual, quippy way. And you can kind of like see these little like narratives through. And there's like all these surprising but very genuine things that happen to you on the road. You also like get these different traits from how you behave. So like at one point I was like, I'm really broke. I'm going to like work a lot. And the game is like, you're working a lot on your vacation. I was like, that you sound broke to me. And then they were like, new trait, workaholic. And I was like, oh no. And it like had some pros, but it had some cons. So like, it's such a game that's like directly, explicitly in conversation with how you play it. And I know that's like true of a lot of games, but I think there are some games like this one where you are knowingly playing with the designer in a way that like, you know, on a technical level, when you play Mario, it's like, I'm also kind of playing with the designer, but not in the same way. This is like very much you want to see like what kind of things happen. You're excited by what happens. And in that way, not to like say it's better than Oregon Trail. I know Oregon Trail is like kind of a classic, so I don't really want to touch Oregon Trail in terms of how good of a game is it. It's pretty good. Obviously it's really old, so it's like, you know, kind of limited, but this feels like so much more variable, where I feel like Oregon Trail, you know, there is something fun about like you're trucking along and you're like, oh no, the wheel's out. But that's kind of the extent of the excitement. Here it's like, what if you had so much more that you could do and so many more things could happen to you? It really is like, I'm a millennial, but this is like Oregon Trail for Gen Z. But it's so freaking cool. I played this game for 7 hours. I did get to an ending, but there are multiple. You played this game a little bit. I know you kind of bounced off because you were playing on Steam Deck and were like not the most comfy place to play, you know?
Yeah, Steam Deck, this it is playable, but I think it is for sure a mouse game.
I want this on Switch 2 so bad with that mouse.
It'd be insane. So yeah, maybe, you know, eventually I'll try it again once. I don't know, we got to clean up the office and organize things a little bit better to maybe be able to. There are a couple games that I think play better or only at like a desktop kind of situation. Yeah. And so maybe that's something that we can revisit in one of our future house reorganizations and you know, we turn everything upside down. I
mean, it would just be sitting here now at this table that we have
maybe
there.
Yeah, sure.
I know we got rid of the chair that like more comfortably like fits. Yeah, but did you play enough to really have much an opinion?
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting, right? As I'm a bigger sort of puzzle strategy plan out kind of person. And I think there's definitely something there for like being able to manage your resources while still completing objectives and going on quests to like, you know, deliver an item or a person or grab a thing or visit a place before this date or something like that. Like there's all these different opportunities for rewards that I think are really cool. And like you as the player want all you can get. Yeah. And so there's like incentive to sort of maybe not min-max, but like be more efficient with your vacation. Yeah. Similar to a like real life vacation to some degree. So I don't know. It's really cool. It is really cool. I just need to figure out the ergonomics for playing it.
I do think on a very technical level, you can play it on Steam Deck, and Steam Deck does have like, it has a touchpad, but I just find it to be like not very comfy. It's like I have a hard, like, it's not the kind of game where because of the controls you will screw yourself over, but it is the kind of game where an unergonomic time is going to make it so that you're like struggling to move everything over. I played this game on Steam Deck, but hooked up to my TV with an Xbox controller in one hand and a mouse in the other. Yeah. So your own pre Nintendo Switch 2. And I loved it. I loved playing it that way. Just because it kind of gave me the best of both worlds. I'm a console girly, but this was like, we clearly need a mouse for this game a little bit. So, but yeah, I mean, there's so many other cool things about this. You can upgrade the car and like do all this fun stuff. And like, it is such a game in part because it's an indie game. So there's not like guides out there really. Like I remember there's so many times where like questions will come up, like early on ish, depending on how things land for you. You'll find out there's like a race that you can do, but you need a roll cage on your car to do it. I spent so much of the game being like, where do I get this roll cage? Like you just don't find there are so many questions that can come up where it's like you don't know really how do you even do this? Like for a long time I'm like, how do I shower in this game? It says I'm dirty. New trait, you're stinky bitch, Like I was like, how do I new trait stank? Like how do I get this off me? And you figure things out just naturally as you go, and then the art's incredible. The music is from at least a real life band. I don't know if every band is real. I think they are. Added it to my Apple Music immediately. It's just like it's that like indie sleaze era music kind of thing. So it's so good. But they finally got kicked out of my game of the year for some other stuff. But what's one of your shining stars where you're like, I think this is gonna be like in my top 10 at least? Because Keep Driving, I think it's pretty locked for top 10. I would be shocked if like
you can find 10 other
10. I was like, I was like 9, 10.
Yeah.
10 other games are better than Keep Driving.
Yeah.
But what about you?
For me, it's funny. I spent most of the beginning of the year playing catch up on like older games and stuff. Like we, had like Super Mario Galaxy in there. I did Oxenfree. I tried to beat the story game allegations with like Oxenfree and True Colors and stuff.
Of me saying you don't like story games, yeah.
So, but one of the first games that came out this year that I played, Split Fiction. I think the more Split Fiction is a sort of a co-op adventure game.
I'd say it's a platformer.
Platformer.
I think it's a co-op adventure
platformer.
It's a co-op action adventure platformer. Yeah, because you are jumping for most of that game.
That is true, but you're jumping in a lot of games.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It is a game that has platforming. I wouldn't call it a platformer, but I think a platformer is kind of one of the genre seeds. It's just not the genre seed because the platforming is so magnetic that I don't think you're ever... And I get people that are bad at games are like struggling to make the jumps in Split Fiction, but like it is quite literally like very heavily like zoop. Oh, you landed perfectly. Like that kind of game.
My thing is getting off topic, but it's like there's not deep mechanics to the platforming. There's deep mechanics to traversal, but it's not like you have like a ground pound and a long jump and this, that. You just have a jump.
It's more of like how you get around. This game is more playing with gadgets, abilities, and genre than it is playing with like one consistent through line is that you are often jumping, but like even the level design, it's not around like hard. It's rarely around like a hard jumping sequence.
Yeah,
is
no,
the
I
thing.
agree. Anyways, so it's a co-op of that where we played it together.
It's a Haze-like game. It's a Haze-like game.
Yeah. So if you've played one, you have a sense of how it works, right? One person's one character, the other person's a different character. You're going through a scenario. In this scenario, it's very like fantasy meets sci-fi. Is like story writers, and you're going through their stories, and it's got like a really cute story. The game itself has a cute sort of like dialogue that it tells you of like being a writer and the AI corporate greed kind of like it's trying to take over, and
it's accidentally an AI game because Joseph Ferris has gone on record being like, I think AI, like, I'm cool with it. And then I'm like, but you made this anti-AI, and obviously Joseph Ferris is not the only person working on Hazelight, but it is funny. It is one of those classic, this is just, no, it's just a story about an evil guy. And again, the thing is not explicitly AI, but it is the same idea as what AI can do, which is absorb information and then create work. And the evil thing is something that absorbs your stories and then creates stories and sells them. So that's funny, but yes, that is what the game is.
This is a game. I thought the gameplay was like super fun. It was always interesting. It's like a pretty decent length, and like at no point in playing, it took us maybe
12.
I was gonna say 10 to 12 hours. At no point was I like ever tired of some mechanic or situation they put us in. Like there's enough variance to the gameplay and length of gameplay that they give you that I'm like, I'm just having a good time after good time after good time. And like maybe at like the 11th hour, I was like, I feel like we're getting towards the end, and I'm good getting towards the end. And then the end came, and it's like, all right, great. Didn't overstay its welcome. Fun time, good writing, fun stories.
You think it has good writing?
I think it has good writing in the sense that, like, for what it is, yeah, which is like could be TV sitcom kind of like level of writing. Obviously, not a TV sitcom. There's not like a laugh track or anything in there, but it's like a dumb, like, get you from A to B kind of thing. Yeah, there were some good jokes in there.
I was out here nodding until you said good writing, good story. I was like, split fiction. Like,
yeah, I mean, the evil guy. I don't think it's not The Last of Us or anything like that, right? But like, it is.
It's not The Most of Us. I don't know. It's just I think
I laughed throughout most of this game. That
is not my memory of you playing this game.
Really?
Like, yeah, you seemed like you were like fine with it. Like, I don't know. I don't remember you yucking it up. Maybe you did. You say you did. Okay, sure. Yeah. I like this game a lot too. This is also pretty solidly in my top 10. It's not as solid as Keep Driving for me, even though I think a lot of people would disagree with that because Split Fiction is so fun to play.
Yeah.
And it is really fun to play. And I like this more than It Takes Two, which I know is also people are split on that. On is it better than It Takes Two? I think it is.
And they split fiction.
Yeah, they split. They're split on whether or not. I think it's better than It Takes Two. I think. God. I think Hazelight is a studio that is really struggling to do narrative in their games, in my opinion. I have not enjoyed a narrative since.
I think it's about what kind of narrative are you looking to get? Are you looking to get Life is Strange? Yeah, sure. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get Naughty Dog. You're not going to get these like deeper, enriching stories.
I disagree that you need to be.
But I think you're going to get a good MacGuffin to get you from A to B.
I mean, I think this could be maybe a topic in itself, like what makes a good story in a game. I think without spending too much time in it, people like, I disagree with the assertion that just because you're not a story game or a game that has like heavy focus on story doesn't mean that you can have like a good or enjoyable story. Like, I'm trying to think of a game that's like kind of.
This was good and enjoyable.
I just didn't, which is fine.
The sister, situation come up, and it was the parent.
And
you had
I feel
the
like
characters' backstories and everything. I was like,
it felt very much like a. This sounds like really mean.
See it coming, but
it sounds really mean to the people that worked on the narrative of this. It felt a little too like written on a napkin for me, and then it's like I don't think they like. My beef with the story is I don't think it integrates with the gameplay very well, and I think that's kind of sort of the point of what you're trying to do. And I think they had opportunities to do that, and I think you sometimes see them do that. Like there are some really fun to play and like narratively valuable side quests in the game. The side quests are incredible in this game. They're probably my favorite part of the game. And the side quests are all based on like these are writers, and it's like different stories that they wrote, like but maybe didn't finish. So one thing that is super cool that they do, without going too in depth into spoilers, is they have some stuff from when they were a kid, and they're like, oh yeah, I wrote this when I was a kid, and the level is imaginative, it's enjoyable, and you get like a bit of actual insight into like who they were as kids. Good on all fronts. I'm cool with that. Other stuff was like, this big fish monster kind of reminds me of how my dad is sick. It's like, how does they were like, I just feel like there was a lot, and it is very much a like, I like am the really mean grumpy one, and I think you can do archetypes in a way that doesn't feel so like okay, like I really want like. It feels like someone went through the script and they're like, everything this person says, they have to be the grumpy one. And everything this person says, they have to be the sunshine one. It's also very like I just don't think it has like a good story, but it doesn't matter because you're mostly just like playing the game. You're playing the game for fun and its mechanics. But yeah, I wouldn't be like, oh, this has a good story. Like video games have a good story. I would not put Split Fiction on that list. Personally.
Okay.
But it is a great game. Mechanically. It's really fun to play.
Yeah.
Had a really good time with it. I ain't got nothing good to say about that story. The only good thing I have to say about the story is it wasn't weird and like the way It Takes Two was, which is It Takes Two makes more of an attempted story, but I think it fails a lot in not really saying anything about anything. But yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. The difference is, you're a much deeper narrative person, so fair that and expected that I would have a different thought on the story of this game than you.
Because like a good story. But yeah,
I played some story games this year, and
hey, so have I look.
Swift Fiction was one of the better ones.
Lost Records, Blooming Rage. I got nothing good to say about Tape 1, baby. Tape 2, we gonna see. I'm not optimistic, but I have to get to that when I get to that. Let's do Snake Order. What's another one you have?
I guess coming in. I'm trying to also make sure that these came out this year.
Yeah, I know. I feel you.
I mean, I guess technically right now, all these games are in my top 10 because
right. Which ones do you think have like staying power? Maybe you don't have another one. Is your game of the year Split Fiction?
No, but I'm trying to build up to.
Yeah.
I would say one that I really liked, for what it was, Spilled.
Okay, yeah, some Spilled love.
Spilled was a sort of cute, small indie game where you're this boat that's going around kind of like cleaning the ocean, cleaning the waters of like oil spills and garbage and saving animals and putting out fires. And like as you clean up things, you get money for like the garbage you clean, and you can upgrade your boat to get a bigger sort of
the front part,
a bigger claw to kind of like grab garbage, and you can hold more oil before you have to go drop it off, and you could dry faster through the water and things like that. It's a very, very short, like it's a one sitting game if you really want. 2 at most, I think, is you could break it into. But it looks really cool. It's like this like lo-fi pixel arty kind of 3D aesthetic. Think like kind of like old PS1, but like a little more.
I feel like it's like
pixelated.
It's like high res pixel art to me. So it's interesting that you describe it as like I think it's like I feel like if it's like if you did an intense remake of Short Hike's art, but you kept the art pixelated and you just sharpened everything. It feels like it's because
I can see that,
because on a technical level, and I have no idea. Like maybe you would know more about this because you've done more game dev. I believe it's one of those art styles that like isn't technically pixel art, but is made to look like pixel art.
Yeah, I think technically it's like
3D
like voxel
stuff. Yeah.
But it looks.
But it does have like that old
pixel art.
Yes, but it's like it's pixel art, but with like so many pixels that the resolution is very high on like the assets.
But then the boat itself, I think, is just straight up it might be 2D, but I think it is just a straight up model that they're turning and rotating and doing stuff. Anyways, no, it's really cool. It's really relaxing. I think I found out about it at like Next Fest, maybe like last year or something like that. It was on my radar, and then I know that you played it for your Game of the Year watch, and I was like, oh no, I think it's like really, it's a cute little game. It's fun. It's something to do. It's
you got to try Lotto Not Next.
Yeah.
If you like cleaning games, I mean, do you feel like you like cleaning games, or you just like happen to like this one?
I don't know.
I think give it a try.
I mean, I'm down to give it a shot. I guess I can't. I really liked Spilled, so I'm inclined to give Lotto Not a chance. Yeah, for sure.
I think give it a go. I like Spilled a lot as well. It was a really just like delightful game. I'm trying to think if there's a couple UI things that I had issues with Spilled. Just like being able to, there's kind of little areas they have you clean, and being able to like see within the menus what was 100%ed or not, because you don't have to 100% the areas to move on. But I wanted to 100% them, and it turns out like when you beat the game, how many did you look at? How many you 100%ed? I think I only 100%ed like 30% or something.
I didn't, but
which I was a little bummed by. It's hard to even see that information. You have to just go to the achievements. But that being said, though, I think this is a game that I think is incredible at knowing what it's about and knowing how to like get more from not a lot. Because again, it is a really simple concept. Like you just kind of go around slowly, and then you like cover the stuff, then you're done. Yeah. But it's really relaxing. I love that they have the different weather that in the different areas. I think I forget if both the sound design and OST were favorable to me, but they had some like cool stuff with that. And I like that they add little things like, off in the corner, you saved a little bear. Yeah. And they also had like mini side quests where it'll be like this random other boat wants their beach ball back, and then you like go and get it. And the reason I think that stuff is so cool is I feel like so many times there have been many games I play, especially games that are more minimalist in terms of mechanics. The kind of games that, more ignorant gamers would say, like, is this even a game? You're just doing this thing. Like those types of games. I think sometimes when you have a game like that, I feel like the designers unnecessarily add more things to like justify that it's a video game, to like make it more video gamey. And this feels like the designer knew exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to get a little bit more juice out of the orange, but they were like, well, let me not pick up an apple though. This is an orange game. And they like did that really nicely. This is like, if you like cleanup games, you like little like relaxing stuff, this is a game I would recommend to everybody in terms of that.
Yeah,
really nice. My next one is, I'm also thinking like, what's gonna be here at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's
okay.
the hard part.
I don't know if it'll be here at the end of the year, but I'm gonna throw it out there. Lonely Mountain Snow Riders. And Isaiah, I know you hated this game.
I thought you might pick that.
Yeah. I'll get into what it is, and then I'd love to briefly hear your hatred of Lonely Mountain Snow Riders. Lonely Mountain Snow Riders is a follow-up to the dev's previous game, Lonely Mountains Downhill. It is on a technical level, right? It's like a sports snowboarding game. But it is all about like you going down like these mountains. They have different mountains and they also have different difficulties of tracks within those mountains. So like you have like your Black Diamond and things like that. What makes this game unique in its genre is that the perspective is sort of very level oriented, but only level oriented for like what's sort of coming up next. So if you picture yourself going down the mountain, imagine like, which is the perspective you're given, you can see the tip top of the mountain and you see your player character. The game is, you have settings to like make it, do you want, when you move the stick left, for your character to move to the left of the screen, or do you want them to move left of like their perspective?
Yeah.
And I think it's really great that it has that option, because like, the whole game is you kind of gotta be able to like move around. So you'll start going down the slope, and then maybe like the camera will like slightly zoom out a bit, and you'll see more of the corners. Maybe at some points the camera's behind you. It just kind of depends on what's in the level, but they're trying to allow you to see ahead, but not see like infinitely ahead, which makes it so that you are always kind of on the edge of your seat of like what's coming next in the level, but the levels are the same each time. So a big part of this game, it's a challenging game, is about getting to know the mountain, the slope, and what's really another thing that makes it very unique is you can go in like whatever path you want. You do need to like hit certain checkpoints. There are checkpoints in the route, but how you get there is like your business. You can do shortcuts, you can do whatever, and like part of the challenge of the game is like learning how to get through things like effectively, efficiently, like finding new shortcuts, experimenting with things. And what determines kind of completionism of the mountain, there's one for time, one for a number of crashes, and then one for like a combo, I think. It's like, so I'll make it up. It'll be like, finish the mountain in under a minute and a half, finish it under a minute and 45, but you only have like 6 crashes, and it's like finish it with less than 10 crashes or something like that. And those are your challenges. More mountains open up like slightly based on that progression, but it's not like you have to 100% the mountain to like keep going. At some points you can get like better skis and stuff like that, but it's mostly about get to know the mountain.
Yeah.
And it's got like a slight layer, to me it's a slight layer, to you maybe it's a big layer of like funky physics. I don't feel like it's full funky. I feel like it is less unwieldy than like an Overcooked, which I also don't think is very funky compared to the other like chaos one. You think of like the freaking ambulance one and like those. I feel like the fun is like, oh, it's crazy you can't control your character. Overcooked, I always feel like I can control. It's just a little slippery. Lonely Mountains is kind of similar. Like I always feel like I can control it, but it is like a tiny bit slippery. It's very momentum based. But yeah, and there's like no OSTs. I love this game. I love the sound design. I love the level. I think the level design is brilliant. But you had a very different experience playing Lonely Mountain Snow Riders. What was that like? Yeah,
no, I just didn't have a good time with this game. I think I tried. I definitely tried. I tried to give it a fair shot. I tried to go in without strong expectations either way. Just kind of see what the game gave me, because I never really tried the Lonely Mountains Downhill.
Yeah.
But I saw you and Edwin play it, and you guys seem to be,
Metal Jesus approved.
you guys were having a blast with it, and I was like, I want to have a blast. This game is the sequel. It's got to be more blast. You know what I mean? For me, it just didn't hit, man. It was so annoyingly stupid in the way it controlled and the way it felt. It didn't feel good to me. Like, and this isn't like oh, I snowboarded, and so I know how it feels to take a turn on a mountain. No, it was just like, as a game, it just felt too slippery, too floaty for the like execution that they want you to do.
Yeah.
Right. And there's like, it's almost like, or rather, it wasn't like, the beginning of. I'm a big like racing game fan. I think you are too, right? And it's like, oh, you start a Need for Speed and you got the really crappy car with like poor acceleration, next to no traction, no NOS, your turns are all wide and this, that, and the third. But like in those games, I feel like there's nuance to how, like, almost like the weight of the car, like as you're weaving in and out of traffic, like you get a sense for like, okay, cool. If I don't do too sharp a turn, I'll change lanes, but then I can like easily get back over then, and like you get a sense of how to time it and this, that, and the third. I never got that sense in this game. I never got the sense that like minor input did anything, and you had to almost like commit to these like bigger movement actions and execute those with perfection. And it's like, that's just not fun to me. That's just not fun.
It's more of like a momentum and speed game. And kind of like a planning game in that sense too. And also, like, I should emphasize that like you are made of like paper in this game. So like if you hit like the tiniest rock, it's like, well, that's a little wipeout, and then you start back at your checkpoint.
Or worse, you don't, and then you're just losing time because you're in a now inopportune. Well,
they do
situation.
let you like auto die. Like there's a button that you can hit to like crash out like automatically. But yeah, those are basically the two sides of the coin of this game. Like, when you are definitely not alone, Isaiah, in this. Like I don't relate to what you're talking about, but I have heard it from other people. Like a lot of people were like, yeah, I played this game. Like this game kind of sucks. Like, and then everyone else is like, this is awesome. So I don't really think there's an in between is the kind of good news. So if you
try it.
If you were down to try it, like give it a go. You might find something that you love, or you might just be like, actually, this is hell and this kind of sucks.
I will say also, I think originally was playing it on Steam Deck.
Okay.
And it had some performance issues on the Steam Deck. I did eventually switch to my Xbox One S.
Yeah.
Or Xbox Series S.
Yes.
Which for this game, it's not. I didn't think it was a very like technically challenging game. Like, I don't think I needed to have a
the snow
pro
does
console.
Look really good in the game. I'm not gonna lie to you. The snow looks incredible.
So
the people are voxels, though. Just to be clear, it's like I
think the world in general is like voxel,
but they put like all of the polygons are in the snow. They're like the snow is like high res, and everything else like didn't get high res. But I think that makes sense because it's about the track. Sure. So they're emphasizing the track.
So maybe at some point I'll try it again on the Series X.
I think you're just fine where you are. I don't think you should, and that's okay. Like I get it, because again, I've heard it from people before where they're like, I don't feel like I can control this. I don't think it's like, I don't see what you're seeing. But yeah,
and this is how I know I'm toxic, because I like hating on this game because you like it and I hate that you like it, and so I want to keep playing it just to prove more of how bad some of the things are. And I know that's what makes me.
I gotta be honest though, you're not good enough to see enough of it to complain.
I got through it. I just wasn't having fun. At a certain point, I'm like, this is just dumb.
Those mountains are rough. Dumb. But yeah, I know I love this game. But I don't think you're tripping in your assessment, because there's so many other people that feel that way about it, but I feel like they just, I don't know, they can't ride the slopes. I don't know. It couldn't be me. I'm one with the mountain in this game.
Game sucks.
All right, what's another one you have? I suspect that we have two of the same ones in here.
Yeah. So next, I'll probably do Blueprints.
All right, there we go.
Right.
Right. My name. I'm on the back. I'm writing me too.
Yeah. No, Blueprints fucking bangs. technically, caveat, we have not beaten blueprints yet.
Yeah.
At least as far
Is it
as
room like 47 or something?
46. Yeah,
46?
like hitting room 46. I got
This is my favorite story.
literally one step away from entering room 46. I opened the door to the antechamber, and none of this is spoilers because they tell you what to do in the game.
Yeah, they're
as
like,
soon as it starts. Get to the
antechamber,
room 46.
the room 46, yeah.
I got to the antechamber. I then figured out how to open the door to room 46. I got back to the antechamber with one step left outside of the antechamber.
Can you briefly explain the step thing?
Yeah. So the way the game works is they give you you have a certain amount of steps, and a step is transitioning from room to room. So the mansion is kind of what the game is. So the game itself is a puzzle roguelike where you are drafting the rooms to this mansion with the ultimate goal of trying to get to a specific room. But it's not as straightforward as like, oh, just put down a bunch of hallways until you get to the room. No, each time you open a door, you get the option of drafting one of 3 rooms. There are mechanics like being able to re-roll what 3 options you have. There are mechanics of in order to draft certain rooms, you need to pay a currency. And if you don't have the currency, well, then you're out of luck. You can't draft that room. You have to pick one of the other options. And like very layered mechanics on top of all of this, right? Where some rooms give you benefits, some rooms give you punishments, some rooms. The whole idea is that when you walk into a room, so you open the door, you draft a room. And then if you cross any door threshold, that counts as a step. And you have, I think you start off at like 50 steps or something like that. And there are ways to get more steps. There are ways to lose steps, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I did the whole thing, and it's like a deep puzzle game where there's layers to it, right? Think of The Witness or Lorelei or
I mean,
Fez.
You are
like
farther in the game than me.
There are like layered puzzles, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess it's okay. I guess it can get there, but I don't think it is the only thing.
I would say there's, to some degree, you have to kind of like, to effectively do it, you can luck your way into winning the game, like into beating the game for sure. But like, good luck rolling those RNG dice.
I will say though, you are a little farther in the game than me. And one time I looked over at your TV and I'm like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do some of that stuff that Isaiah's doing. Like, and I had no idea what you were doing. Like, I didn't know the context for it. I just saw you were like in a certain space, and I'm like he's doing other stuff that like I don't know. But I only mentioned that to say that until I beat the game, it doesn't fully get my dumb stamp of approval, but it's like doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, I think the floor is really low, but the ceiling is really high. Yeah,
and I also think there's a lot of opportunities to learn what you need to learn, while I think other puzzle games, you kind of just have to learn it from like, you have one opportunity to learn it. And like to smart people, they're like, yeah, like, didn't you notice that like the 8 stones were both cut with blue crystal? No, I didn't freaking notice that. I don't know. They're like, well, if you don't notice it, you can do the rest. I'm like, okay, well, fuck this game. And I think this kind of creates some additional assistance. But yes, you're back to your room story. So now people know the stakes of the steps.
Slight, fast forward. I was on a run, and the last thing before we get into it, every day the house resets. So like when you run out of steps, you become tired and you have to go to sleep, and you end your run for the day. And then you wake up the next day, the whole house is reset. There are some permanent unlocks you can get, but for the most part, you start drafting again from room 1 from the entryway, and you try to reach room 46 again, all over again. So it's a roguelike in that sense. And so I was on this run, fantastic run, figuring out, I'm piecing puzzles together, rooms interact with rooms, and I got doorways open here, I got keys over there, I got coins in my back pocket, I got dice in my front pocket. Like, we're moving and grooving. I get to the antechamber room, which is like the sort of goal room that the game sets out for you, as like, oh, this is a goal room to get to room 46. They don't tell you how or why or anything like that, but just like, hey, like, try to get to the antechamber room. I get to the antechamber room. I open up the door to room 46 from there. I come back to the antechamber room and I'm right outside the antechamber room. If I'm convinced if I angled the camera right, I could see the door to room 46.
Yeah, you could, because you showed it to me. You said there it is. And you had a special thing though, which also changes the drama of this.
Yeah, I had one step left. And I had sneakers on. And sneakers is an item that sometimes when you change from room to room, it doesn't count your steps.
Yes.
And so I'm like, man, there's a chance I could beat this game right now if the sneakers kick in and I can get through this room with no loss of steps, then I can get to room 46. But if the sneakers don't kick in, I fall asleep, I pass out right before my goal. I go in the room, I hit 0 steps. Screen starts to black. I'm so distraught because I also thought that this run was going to end like an hour and a half ago. Like this is like a 3-hour run here because I'm figuring out so many puzzles and doing a whole bunch of mechanic stuff. And so like all of this just to fail literally outside the door to the final goal.
And
at 2:30
and my petty ass is like, yay, we can keep playing together now because, and obviously you can play the game after beating it. Like the biggest Blueprint sickos are like still playing it hundreds of hours in and stuff. But I also don't know that you're going to do that. And I've liked playing together. So, so selfishly, I mean, I didn't like make you take the step, but at the same time, glad they didn't put it in my hands because I might have I guess I would have let you do it because that's a nice story of you finishing it. But though, even if you got through there, going through the door, like, doesn't that also count as steps? So wouldn't you have passed out inside the room?
I don't think so. I mean, possible, but I don't think so.
Yeah. But either way, it was pretty dramatic. But thank you for calling me over to witness it because it was wild.
I went and got you out of bed. It was like, hey, there's a chance I beat it. There's a chance I fail miserably.
But we've already talked about Blueprints a bit, and you obviously mentioned it now. Also on my list, that's very strong for top 10. I would be shocked if, again, I don't like Lonely Mountains, but I wouldn't be shocked if Lonely Mountains fell off the list because it's kind of the weakest one on there. It's like, it's fun. And I do think it's a great game, but like, there's a lot of great games out this year. Blueprints, I'm really enjoying still. I think it is really great at building a very normal intrigue. Well, again, my beef with some of these other puzzle games, it's like, you have to be really smart to like know what's going on and like put 2 and 2 together. And like when I would play something like Outer Wilds, I felt like I was collecting information, but like it didn't really mean much to me. And I do think Outer Wilds makes an attempt with its like, the way that game works is like you're exploring like in space. So it's like, oh, you go to a different planet and like you like learn some stuff. And when you learn something, they put it into like your ship's dashboard and it'll say like, I'm making it up, gravity's inverted, but only at night. And they're like literally connect like dots for you. But that's still not enough to like understand like to beat the game. Like it's not like the game can give you the answer on how to beat it. It's you're supposed to put it all together at the end. So when I got to the end of the game, I'm like, I don't know what else to do. And my chat was like, you have everything you need. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. And they're like,
you have everything.
Did you notice something on Saturn?
Yeah,
I'm like, no. And they're like, why don't you go there now? And I'm like, what am I supposed to see? They're like, just look up at the sun, okay? Like, just, and I had to just get walked through at the end, which maybe will happen in Blueprints. I don't know. But what I like about Blueprints is I feel like it's much easier for me to know what's going on. And also, in Outer Wilds' defense, I did stream that game. I don't think it's a great game to stream because people kind of, I don't know, it's just the vibes are, you're never really paying as much attention when you're streaming because you're kind of like hanging out. But Blueprints is great because I think it does a good job at building like a really normal curiosity that feels like much more achievable, because the kind of things that I think about in Blueprints, maybe it isn't achievable, but it feels achievable. They sell the feeling, at least.
They sell the feeling.
I'm scared because you seem to not think this game is very achievable. Now I wonder if I need to drop out of it.
I think going into this game, a lot of people compared it to Outer Wilds, to The Witness, to Fez, to these like really great puzzle games that have like layers to them, right? Animal Well, stuff like that. And it's like, oh, this game is great. It's great. It's a great game. Fantastic puzzles, blah, blah, blah. But the rogueness of it, you have to ask yourself, is there a reason no one has done this drafting layered puzzle game before? And is it because no one's thought of it? Or is it just because adding RNG to something where you already fighting against the game itself feels not good.
Oh. So are you like turning on the game a little bit?
I'm not turning on the game.
It's because you ran out of steps.
I'm more locking in the game on where I think it really is, which is like a fan. This is not the 10 that I thought it was going to be. I don't even know if this is the 9 that I thought it was going to be. I think it's maybe a really good 8, maybe a 9.
I agree with that assessment, actually. I don't think it's like one of the greatest games of all time or anything.
Yeah, people are saying like, oh, this is the fucking second coming of Jesus Christ and shit. And I'm like, no, the RNG in this game ruins an otherwise fantastic masterpiece.
I will say I don't at the time of recording have beef with the RNG. Maybe I'll have more beef later. What I kind of like about the RNG actually is it makes it so that I can't really like hyper fixate on something, and it gives me more options on what I'm doing because so much of the game is at a certain point, you're like pulling on threads is kind of, even from the beginning of the game, you know, again, we won't get into spoilers. Maybe we'll do a spoiler cast once we beat the game. But, you know, the first thing you're told is like, get to the antechamber, which is a room at the end of the mansion. You know, it's if you picture it like a grid, it's like, oh, you get further and further in. So you spend a lot of time trying to do that. And it's very like, if you give a mouse a cookie, but like in a distractions kind of way. So maybe you, you know, you're working on getting to the antechamber, but, you know, it's something that is like very much known pretty early on is that like I think it's even known on the map. Like there's, you know, you need to have like, there's doors to the antechamber. So you need to like line up the rooms that way. So it's like, okay, well maybe I'm going to work on like making sure I line up the rooms correctly. Oh, but like, you know, the door is locked. Okay, well how do I open it? I don't know. I'm going to keep exploring. And then, I found out how I can open it. Okay, well now I know how to open it and I'm going to work on opening it and drafting a room that's going to let me open the antechamber. Oh, but while I'm heading to draft that room, I found a shovel because there's like tools, or I found the sneakers, right? That you already talked about. Cool. Now that I have the sneakers, maybe I can use this to like, you know, get further around or whatever. So I think there's like a lot of different distraction points, but those things also still feed into your holistic knowledge of the game. So what I like about that is it stops my number one beef with puzzle games is I feel like you just have to be good enough to do it. And I know that there's like smart design to puzzle games. I'm not saying they're just like nonsense, but it just feel like there aren't really as many routes as people think in a lot of puzzle games because like you do have to kind of know what like how to solve the puzzle for certain things. And what I like about Blueprints is because it does have that RNG nature, it's a lot more about exploring and tinkering with things. Now I get like once you know what to do, and maybe that's why I'm not as frustrated because I'm like, I don't know what's going on really, but I have like 12 things I'm interested in. And because I'm taking so long to maybe discover some of those deeper layers, I'm getting more things to be interested in. And some of those things have deeper layers and I get to engage with those. But, and I think it's also dragging the game out longer for me, but I'm enjoying it still. So I don't mind it. And I think that's what's working for me. While I think someone that maybe can put 2 and 2 together faster is like, oh, I know I have to like, I'm making stuff up. I invert the gravity and I'm going to need the gravitron and and like, but now I just can't get it. And I'm like, I know I want another room that's green, you know? And I'm like, I'm working on getting a green room. And you're like, I'm trying to fight God. And I'm like, there's a God, like, you know, so maybe that's the difference. And I do fear that like at a certain point, the game's going to want me to fight God and I'm not going to know that there is a God. And then I'll just have nothing left to follow. But I've been liking that so far. Like I can keep playing, even if I'm maybe playing in a dumb, unoptimal way, but like I'm still getting to play. And a lot of puzzle games, like I literally have to just stop playing because like I just run out of ways I can engage with the game without just looking up the answer. So yeah,
I think for worse, this game is not like that because of the RNG to it. Like taking Outer Wilds, for example, if you know what to do, the whole point of playing Outer Wilds is discover and figure out and deduct what it is you have to do, right? And once you know what to do, you can do it with 100% success rate every single time. This game has all the same beginnings. It's figuring out how the house works, how the rooms work, how the items work, how this works, how that works, what you got to do, how to get the door open, blah, blah, blah. Once you know all of that, you still cannot, with 100% accuracy, do it because of the RNG-ness to it. And so it's like, it's a game that forces you to learn all these steps to a dance that might still just get canceled come the day of performance.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, that's just so unsatisfying. That's so frustrating when you've challenged me to learn all these things and piece all these pieces together and figure out this puzzle, and I know what to do and I know how to do it and I know where to do it. I just can't do it because you won't let me. And it's like, well, that's just dumb. That's just dumb. I hate that. So that is like honestly the biggest gripe. And I think
that
one
does
of the
annoying.
Biggest,
and I'm not annoyed because I don't know shit. So I'm like,
yeah, no, fact. So
I was
it's
like,
all
oh
right.
no,
yeah. So yeah, and it's a game that also, like, again, this isn't like I think a spoiler. Like the antechamber room itself, for example, has like 3 doors to get into it. It's not like there's like one magical way to do most things. I think most things in a game have like multiple approaches to solutions, kind of things. And it's like, even with that, good luck. I hope the game smiles down on you and like fucking lets you win.
Yeah.
I hope the game lets you win. That is fucking the game in a nutshell.
Do you think there's a chance it isn't in your top 10 though?
No, it's definitely, I think it'll definitely be in the top 10. I will say
you hide it at the bottom. That
it's a high game that would be one of the first ones I probably bump out though, which is like really weird to say.
It's your Lonely Mountains.
No, it's more like if I had a top 10 and this was number 4 and something came along, this would leave top 4 to like 11 in order for something else to come and like, like it wouldn't fall.
Well, then I guess it's not really
the
4
list.
though.
Well, no, because I think of the games, it could be like, I think 4 as far as like the best games is just like, it's so fragilely 4.
Oh.
It's a 4 or 14. You know what I mean?
It's like no, I don't know. That's actually insane, and I think you should be arrested for that.
It's a 4.
If you're a 4, you should drop down to a 5 and a 6.
You should. Like, you should, but
that's
not
like
this
saying
game.
It's either my game of the year or I'm taking it off the list. Though I will say, I should acknowledge that like I kind of did that to Rebirth a little bit. Like Rebirth was in my top 10 for like the first like 1 or 2 lists I made, and then I took it off the list completely. And people were like, they were so aghast, and I'm like, I gotta be honest. I think a lot of people that are mad, I don't think you're actually reading my website very often. But you did read this article, so shout out to that. You did click on this. I hate click. It's still a click, baby. You're getting up there. But they're like, it's not on the list at all. And I'm like, I just realized I kind of sometimes you're playing a game and it's going good, and then sometimes you're like, now that I look at it, this bitch kind of ugly. Like I don't know. Sometimes it happens. And yeah, maybe and that's been my hesitancy on being too complimentary on Blueprints, or even just saying it doesn't get my dumb stamp of approval until I finish it. And I haven't, and I am worried that I won't be able to. Maybe it'll be part because of what you're complaining about. Maybe it'll be part of other things that come up for me, having a different background than you. But I'll throw out what I feel like is my last one, I think.
Probably. And for me, it's Frontrunner.
I think it's my current number 1. But it's also a little fragile as well because it's got some problems.
Yeah.
But it's Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Isaiah, how did we go from being like, does anyone else kind of like think a lot of this game is kind of bad, but one part is good, to being like, this is game of the year? Because that's a big turn. Because we talked about this last episode.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks is a long time, you know?
Yeah. And to be honest,
Cat came back to life in that time. Anything can happen. Your life can change in 2 weeks.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think the game really changed much from the last time we talked about it. Like, obviously, things progress, blah, blah, blah. But, like, all the flaws of the game are still there. And all the highlights of the game are still there. It's just, after you start sitting with it some more, the flaws, they're not that bad.
You eat around it.
And the good is, like, really good.
You eat around it. It's like, I'm just going to move this part to the side.
This is the year of amazing games that just have huge flaws.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, that's, like, most years. Except for the years that are like obvious heat, like Breath of the Wild. I'd put God of War in there. I know some people are like, oh, I don't like the sun is so sunny. I don't know, whatever, right? Like I think that's when we're getting into like the 10 the 10 debates, of quality. And I don't think any of the games we've talked about here are, in my opinion, they're like not close to masterpieces. Like they're not even close.
Yeah.
But it's not because they're not good. It's just that like to me, that is such a high bar.
Yeah.
That like, well, most people aren't there anyway. So it's like, I'm not gonna, if I only played Masterpieces, I'd play almost no games.
Yeah.
I'd play 3 games. And then I realized some of those games actually weren't that good.
Yeah.
So, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is an RPG. It is French made, but it is drawing a lot on JRPG sensibilities. Frankly, I'm actually not like a JRPG expert. I would say like elements of like the party construction and some of the old school nature of some of that exploration that we don't like. I think it's also kind of like I've seen a lot of people make the old school Final Fantasy comparison for the lack of objective lists and like these other elements. But I think one thing that did change for me though since we last talked is the story. I feel like the story is really starting to hit. And we won't spoil anything here. Again, maybe we do a spoiler cast later or something. But like I felt like I'm like, these people were acting their ass off. Like, I don't know. I think the story is actually really good. I was always intrigued by some of the lore of the, hey man, what's up with the paint race? And I still don't know. We're only a kind of light spoilers as the game has acts, like explicit acts. We won't talk about how many acts there are or any of those details, but so we're still in Act 2, I think, of the game. So we're not like, oh, I'm at the end or anything like that. But just to give people who are further along a sense of like where we are. And there are things that happened before, where I am today that are, I think just really moving and interesting and nice and exciting. And I also think the other thing that I saw that elevated the game for me is there's a lot of humor in the game and playfulness that I wasn't expecting. Sure, you could have maybe clocked that when like you fought the mime, where it's like that's kind of silly to fight a mime and then you take the mime's clothes and they're like it's a baguette on your back. It's like sure, that's a little silly. But the humor kind of continued in the game for me. Like there's a town that you go to that's like a gestural town, and the gesturals have the personalities of the Goron from Zelda if they were derpier, which the Goron are already like a silly little group of lads. So stuff like that. I think the game is like such a fucking troll ass game. Like there's weird like in the same town, there's like a casino being built, and like you go up to the guy and he like asks you some question, and if you like sort of blow him off, he's like right answer, and then he gives you like an item. It's like this, it's just like a weird. They have the platform in this game is genuinely awful. Some of the worst parts about this game is exploring and having to do a jump. But I feel like the devs know that, and so they then made like an always up in the game, and also like another hellscape kind of thing, and like that is funny, and fun to like. I'm a platformer sicko, so like having to platform when the platforming is bad, I hate that. Getting to platform when the platforming is bad, I love that. I got to those. People were like, "This is the worst part of the game to me." I'm like, "You guys don't get art." They know it's bad, and that's when it's good. Because and I know that's like crazy. I feel like I got to start like writing these articles that I have in my head. But when the platforming's supposed to be bad and it is bad, that can be good. I get that people don't like it. I get if you don't like Always Up, if you don't like Chained Together, if you don't like Game of Sisyphus, I think it's totally fair. But like if you don't understand what they're doing, like I feel like that's just willful ignorance. Like they're supposed to be like that. That is like the game is like willing through the mechanics. Now, this isn't as crazy as Chained Together and Always Up, because I've played Chained Together. I haven't actually played Always Up. And those games are much more slippery, much less forgiving. Like, you can really tell they're more just, like, doing a fun nod than, like, really recreating it. But yeah, I was like, look at these little troll developers making their weirdo game. And I think that stuff has helped elevate, while, like, the combat has continued to, like, rock as you, like, build your party out. And even when I realized that, like, I love the combat, and then I'm like, it's really just like stacking things up. It's like, you build up this meter, you build up these cards, you build up. I'm like, you're kind of just building stuff up in this game. And then I was like, you're kind of just building stuff up in this game. It's pretty cool. Like, it still ends up being fun. I think the enemies they present you with put you in, again, like playful situations of like having to like switch up your strategy. As much as the Pictos are annoying to equip and unequipped, I think they also add like a fun layer of like, oh man, I'm gonna lean into like this strat because it's like very AP oriented and I can do more stuff. No, I'm gonna lean into this because I am gonna do like focus on elemental stuff. So everything's gonna be based on like this thing or this character. And that stuff has continued to rock, even though the level design, I honestly think it's kind of bad.
Yeah. I don't even think it's kind of bad. I think it is bad. Like,
I think sometimes it's not bad. I think it's either neutral or bad.
Yes,
Like that's
yes,
what, you know,
yes.
I'm either like, I don't notice it, or I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Yes. But what has been your, take on this? I wouldn't say it's like a complete 180, because we always were like, the combat rocks, the exploration's bad.
Yeah.
And now we're like, the combat rocks, the exploration's bad.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the amount that I'm like kind of emphasizing it has changed, but not the feeling. But yeah, what's it been like for you?
No, I think you fucking nailed it. It's like the good parts: combat, story, characters, even like the like stats and mechanics and abilities, like the Pictos and Lumina and all of that stuff. Awesome. I'm in it. I'm with it. We got Monkey Man and doing this, taking legs and doing this stuff. I'm with all that, right? The characters I love, the game and what you're trying to do. I'm with it. The battles, there's some interesting battles. There's like one-off bosses. There's like better versions of normal enemies that are like kind of like these optional bosses, and like some fights have like one-off mechanics for that fight alone that they kind of introduce and throw away, and it's just like challenge fights almost. Like there's so many good things that the bad of where the fuck am I and where am I supposed to go and how do I get there kind of gets like washed out a little bit, to where it's like, if this is the price that I have to pay to get all the other great stuff going on, fine. I'll just pay that.
This is not a good comparison because you don't like In-N-Out. Like you actively dislike In-N-Out. But it's like how like if you like In-N-Out, we all know them fries suck ass. Yeah. But you're not really at In-N-Out for the fry. And I know a few people will say, actually, I think the fries are good. Okay, congratulations. I now know you have bad taste in food. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's motherfuckers want a medal because they like In-N-Out fries. It's kind of like that.
What if you had to eat a whole serving of In-N-Out fries?
But yes, that's the difference. You do have to eat the fries in this game, because it's not like you can just like not have to explore.
Yeah.
So this would be like if you have to eat the In-N-Out fries.
Yeah. In order to eat the rest of the good In-N-Out meal.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's a food that you do, you know what I mean? Like where you like it and then there's like a thing that you don't like about it that would work for this metaphor.
I think that's kind of the best.
We'll have to keep workshopping.
It's really good
stuff, you know.
Yeah, I still think
it's
this
like
needs a mini map.
You enjoy smoking, but it might kill you.
Yeah, it's something, right? It's this game needs a mini map. Honestly, you give this game a mini map, and like, honestly, that might fix it. Like that might be enough to pull it into going from a negative to
you need a
at
mini
least
map,
minimum neutral.
I think you need the magic thing, like a little string that like a line. Like I need that as well.
I think if you gave me at least a mini map, I can, or give me at least Alan Wake's map, and I'm like, you know what, fair, fine, that's enough for me to like at least get a direction that I need to go in. It's a terrible map.
If I'm going to yell for a map, I want that mini map. I'm not going to be yelling for that Alan Wake map. I don't like that map either.
That is at least better than nothing. Like, give me something.
Yeah, but on a technical level. Anyway, the point is. And I gotta be honest, I mean, again, I know a few people that are like, I think it's fine, I like it. But I also know a few people like the In-N-Out fries. So,
nice.
So I do think that's the case, but like it is totally worth going through. And yeah, it's a great game. It's been interesting seeing the conversations on this game like continue to grow. Like a lot of people being like, oh, I hate turn-based, but like I love this game. Like I saw there was a really funny post from Giovanni, who writes for Digital Trends, does a lot of indie stuff. So if you like indie stuff, definitely check out Gio's work. I talk so much on here that I don't know if I can find what I posted, but it was about the fact that I can't find it. It was about the fact that like some people are like, oh, I like this because here it is. I found it. I didn't repost it. I just liked it. He had posted on Blue Sky, not to start a whole thing, but I'm always surprised to hear people who hate turn-based RPGs praising Expedition 33 because that system makes every battle like 100 times longer. And I don't know, I've heard a lot of, there's more strategy. You aren't just hitting buttons, but you are just hitting buttons. Like a specific time instead of just one select move. It's just buttons, baby. Reply, games is buttons. Yeah, so I don't want to go into a whole thing about that. We can maybe say that for another episode on maybe genre and taste and things like that. But yeah, I actually kind of agree with that. I think a lot of people, I mean, if you like this and you don't like other turn-based RPGs, like that's totally fair. But and I do get like it creates more activeness that can make a player feel like they have more autonomy. And I think you do have more autonomy, but but more autonomy is not the same as having more strategy. I actually think it's interesting. There is a lot of strategy in this game, but I think part of maybe what's appealing to people who aren't into turn-based games is that you don't need to like have the strategy or even a good strategy to necessarily win. Like a bad strategy would definitely have you lose a battle, but you don't necessarily need a good strategy. Well, like Metaphor or Fantagio, you really need to like, okay, I'm going with these archetypes. Like it's very specific. Like there is kind of an answer. You can win otherwise, but there is an answer on like how to win battles in that game in different scenarios, right? Like, oh, this one's weak to this, so you gotta have this, or you should have this, or whatever. While this game was kind of special and fun about it is if you're good enough at timing your dodges and doing your button inputs, you can literally beat anybody at any time with any strategy. It would maybe take an infinite amount of time with certain strategies, or like, you know, if you're really weak, obviously it would take like who knows how long to like beat the final boss or something, I'm guessing, right? But you technically could, because you don't need to take damage like ever, technically. I think. I mean, you know, maybe there are some bosses or something that have like an dodgeable thing or an unparryable thing, but like on a technical level, if you were good enough, you could do that. And I think that kind of takes some of the sting out of a typical turn-based, because I think the worst part about a turn-based game is when you get hit, you're like, oh my God, I got hit. And it's kind of like a little bit of a bummer, because like you don't want to get hit and die. And like the best thing you can do in a turn-based game is wipe out the enemy before they can attack, because if they attack you, you're probably going to get hit. Now, sometimes you get a win of like their speed stats enough, or you get lucky and they dodge and you're like, oh, good job. And you're kind of like, but that's all you have. And here, because you have that autonomy, I think people are drawn to that as well, because it's like, I don't have to just get hit. I don't have to just stand here and take the enemy's attacks. I can fight back in those moments. And I think that's kind of what's appealing. But yeah, it's a great game, and I'm pretty surprised that it's at my current game of the year. I don't think it'll stay there, just because I don't know.
There's some other stuff.
There's other stuff coming out. I haven't played Doom yet, but I gotta be honest. I don't think Doom's gonna. And I previewed Doom, and I think Doom was awesome, but I don't think that's gonna knock out Expedition 33. Expedition 33 also has like, what I like about it is it's got edge, you know, and I am willing to accept flaws a little bit more when I get a little bit more edge. When the special parts feel extra special, I'll tolerate some good. Like, I'd rather have that than a game that's, and that's kind of why Split Fiction is like so much lower on my list than like always. Split Fiction is a great game. It's like if you went into a lab and said, make me a fun video game, and it wasn't an AI lab, because that's not how games are made, like it would totally split out Split Fiction, and you're like, yeah, this is so fun. And yet it lacks that je ne sais quoi, you know? It doesn't have, like, I'm not excited to, like, take it to the streets. Well, like, Claire, I'm excited to talk about. And there are games that are simple and fun that I am excited to talk about, like Astro was that for me. But I think that, again, has extra edge and extra things that make it special that, like, Split Fiction doesn't have, to me. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what... Is there a top contender while we close out this game section that you are kind of looking at on like games coming out or games you haven't gotten to, where you're like, I think this could maybe shake things up, or you know, I'm looking forward to it or whatever.
For me, Death Stranding 2.
Right.
Putting me back in that world, delivering package. I don't even know. I've been media blackout for that game, so I, you know, obviously I saw the initial trailer that it was in the works kind of thing, but then since then I've been silent on anything and everything about it, because I just want to get it and I want to play it, because I love Death Stranding 1. I started off very lukewarm and grew to just love it more. So that, which to me,
I'm so curious about that. I gotta play Death Stranding 1.
I think we're gonna do it. I don't know, which kind of our not games topic is gonna kind of get into this more a little bit. I don't know if you'll like it, because I don't know if you like what the game has
What surprises
offer.
me about you liking Death Stranding is I've heard from a lot of people that like it doesn't feel good to play.
It's strategic.
And you are so like,
it's a strategy game.
Oh,
it's
but God forbid you have to go down a hill, Isaiah.
Under the hood, it's a efficiency strategy mechanic game, physics game, and to me that's interesting. I like that. I like getting my little zip lines going everywhere. Anyways, this isn't Death Stranding talk, but Death Stranding 2, I think, probably gonna be a banger for me. If it's anything like Death Stranding 1. Yeah, it's a good one. I think Doom definitely will be a top 10. I'd be surprised if it wasn't by the end of the year. Really, it's just a matter of them not ruining an otherwise great formula. You know what I mean? And from what I see and hear and everything like that, it seems like it's going to be great. And then I think then it kind of gets iffy. I think we don't know what's coming out this year. I know the Snake Eater Delta might come out if that comes
Metroid
out.
Prime 4, right? Is that supposed to be this year?
I haven't played the other Metroid. I think it is this year, but I haven't played the other Metroid Primes.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I have no excitement for that. I played Metroid games and I love Metroid games. And
I think
Prime 4, yeah, sure.
You're kind of like a tricky one. I actually haven't played much of Prime either. I watched my brother Edwin play it a lot when we were kids, but I was in my I don't play FPS games mode because like I grew up playing third person platformers, so I'm like first person, ugh, yuck, nauseating. So you're telling me I'm looking around? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And then it turns out that if you just don't do that, you miss like a lot of games, which I did. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'll go into your first person, I guess. I think you definitely should at least play it. I
want to
wonder,
play the remaster.
Yeah, I have it on Switch, so you could play now.
All right.
Or you could wait for our Switch 2s to arrive. We'll see. But yeah, for me, I definitely excited for Doom. I would be surprised if it. I expect it to be maybe in my top 10, but I'd be surprised if it's knocking out like Claire. Like I think my other big one. Well, it's not like the biggest game. Like I'd be kind of surprised if this like shook things up, but I think it could. Still really excited for The Alters. That weirdo little game where it's you and your clones, and you're hanging out.
Oh man, I don't know enough about what that game is going to be to know if I should be excited.
Survival,
or not.
Adventure, base building. You like to think.
I like all those.
Don't
things.
you like to think?
But is it going to be too artsy? And that's my challenge. Is it going to be too weird, too artsy, too? And I know I just talked about Death Stranding, but is it just going to be too much for me to be like, oh yeah, no, I can fuck with it?
Okay, what if you close your eyes and you see a Hideo Kojima production, and then you start playing it, like then you like it more because you're like, oh, like I know it's dumb, but like if you played Metal Gear, you know that like actually it's really smart. And I actually am also a Kojima stan a bit, though I haven't been as committed to the stand-up as other people have. Like I missed Phantom Pain and stuff like that, but like I rewatched that cutscene of that dude smoking on the bridge in Metal Gear Solid 2 all the time. Okay, like I love that game. Yeah, so exciting stuff. Let us know in the comments what you're excited for this year and what your current front runner for Game of the Year is. That's that. That's the game of the year. Check it. Gang of the year. I don't know. We gotta think of something fun. Check in.
Yeah, I like that.